All right. Hey, this is Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations, and I'm excited to be here with Interim President David Corbin of Providence Christian College, located in beautiful Pasadena, California. And they've just entered in an articulation agreement with our CC Plus program, which we're so grateful for and excited about. And that really just means that it's guaranteed to transfer to their college. And they're one of the few colleges really pushing hard back against all the cultural slipping that we see around us today. And so I'm really excited to have Dr. Corbin with us today. He taught at King's College, which my brother William went to for a while. He's been in college for over 2 decades. He's written numerous books as well as been in politics himself. And I love these books because there's stuff that really talk to our clients, our customers, our people. My daughter is learning about the Peloponnesian Wars in our Foundations program. And you've actually written a book called Thucydides' History of the Peloponnesian Wars. You co-authored Keeping a Republic, Principles for a Political Reformation, and A Reader's Guide to Aristotle's Politics. We're just so excited to have you today. So just tell me a little bit about yourself, your family, and your college.
Sure, Robert. Thank you. And thanks for having me on the podcast. It's great to be here. You won't find bigger fans of Classical Conversations than here at Providence Christian. I can't tell you how many friends I have who are part of the organization and who just benefit from all that you and your family have done. So a big thanks before I begin. I grew up in small town outside of Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire. Went to the University of New Hampshire, went to a state school. Kind of lived, kind of regular high school, 1980s, 1990s existence, but was very much turned off by education, thought it just amounted to checking off boxes, and didn't really realize, what truly could be life-changing about education until I started reading great books in college, and a light bulb went off in my head, and it just drew me to this whole other world of ideas. So it was really kind of there where I learned how to think, and where I wanted to teach thereafter others, how to think in the role of a college professor. I taught at my alma mater at the University of New Hampshire. At the time, I was coming to Christ and wanted to teach in a Christian institution. Did so at the King's College for over a decade, where I had your brother, Will, as a student. Many a funny story about that, but we probably can't put that on air. But anyway, and it was a great experience. And knowing that there's a great void out there for excellent, principled Christian colleges who actually are interested in academic rigor. I was excited about the prospect to come out here to Providence Christian in Pasadena. The weather helped also. It's 78 and sunny right now, as it usually is here. And we've started a really kind of, I won't say King's West Coast, but a King's-like college and academic program combined with really kind of a strong emphasis on Reformed theology in our Bible courses. And we think it's a great mixture. There's such a great tradition in the Reformed worldview. And you take that and combine it with academic rigor, and we think we have something excellent here. So that's here, and happy to be here. And one of the first things that you do when you get to a place like this is you've got to try to get the curriculum right. And then the second thing is get the faculty right. And then the third thing is just bring that right type of student. And we believe that Classical Conversation students will be a great fit for us here at Providence.
Well, I know William, my younger brother, loved having you at King's College, and we're excited about what you guys are doing out there. So if you taught William and we're willing to continue to talk to us, you must think Classical Conversation students are a good fit. And I know you got friends and family that use our program. So what do you see about these students that make you so excited about having them on your campus?
Well, I think the one thing that I've seen in this group of students is that going back to what I said about education being life-changing, being an element of curiosity in your life where you're excited to take on new material. I mean, we all have children, right, who are 4, 5, and 6, and when they're starting to learn, they're just super excited, and you get questions that, you're bombarded with questions, and something in the regular avenue where most people go down, K through 12, they lose that curiosity, that they lose that excitement. So to see it in someone who's 16, 17, and 18, who wants to make that part of their existence from that point and until the day they die, is just the type of student you want here at a college. And I think that your program that, I'm sure Dorothy Sayers, and I'm sure, the whole idea of what classical education is very familiar, so I won't go over that. But the idea that, you can learn how to think from the ground up, and it actually parallels our human development as children. Like we start off wanting to know as many things as we can, the grammar of existence,
Yep.
and try to put it together, and then thereafter we develop a way to talk about it, and that's what you're doing, by the way, if you're giving a good college lecture. It's what you're doing if you're a good CEO. You deal with grammar, logic, and rhetoric and everything that you do. But to have a mind that's trained in that K through 12 is really exceptional, and that's you see the difference, definitely.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know I use those terms, and I wasn't unfortunately classically educated the whole way through like my younger brother because we didn't start CC, or my mom didn't until I was in high school. So, I got some of those, but not as intentional, and kind of envious and jealous of the younger students who've been able to go the whole way through. But I managed to survive. But what are some things that you've been doing? You talked about getting this, the books right, your curriculum right, and your staff right. So what are some of those things that would really stand out about your college to classical conversations families?
Yeah, I think one thing in particular that would stand out is that what we're trying to do here at Providence is create an honors college. So it's not a college within a college that has 10 or 15 individuals per class who come in, but really make the college an honors
Mhm.
college and really draw everyone into that idea that they can be a scholar and they can learn thereafter, kind of to apply these tools of learning to more difficult subjects, and they can come out of that articulate and winsome. So we brought into play a program that we call the Witherspoon program, named after the great Princeton president, Witherspoon, who was this kind of character at the founding of the country, who was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. He was very involved in the Presbyterian Church at that time, but he knew that there was an overlap between what we do in the city of man that we live in and the city of God that we dream for hereafter. And so our program, named after him, is a 3-year bachelor's degree program in which all students who are Witherspoon scholars have 75% of their tuition covered. Our tuition rate per year is $32,000. So our students in the Witherspoon program pay $8,000 for 3 years and leave
Mm.
here with a bachelor's degree. So $24,000 in tuition for a bachelor's degree. But the kicker is that in between their second and third year of schooling, they go on a trip that begins in Jerusalem, then travel to Athens, Rome,
Mm.
Florence, Paris, and then end up in London. So right before they write their senior thesis that ends their college career, they have that, and that's built into their tuition. So 24,000. I say this to
Wow.
parents: $24,000, and you get to spend 6 weeks in Europe in between your second and third year. And I have parents say, "Well, can I do that? Can I sign up?"
Yeah, that's what I was saying is can I go back, get another degree?
Yeah.
That
So
is awesome. Can I chaperone?
yes, exactly. Right. So,
That
yeah.
is that
But
is awesome. That sounds like a great fit for our families.
yeah. Well, I mean, I totally get it, right? I think about all of the resources expended, time, effort, from a classical conversations mom or dad to just try to make sure that 5 to 18-year-old experience goes right.
Mhm.
And you don't want to, at the age of 18, have to spend $55,000 a year on tuition, and I don't think you need to. I think that there's a way to get an excellent education that is not drawn out over 5 or 6 years. And then our young men and women can get on to the business of living and glorifying God.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always tell people like it always baffles me. I went to a state school as well, but you spend all this time and effort into making sure they get a Christian education and a Christian worldview. And whether some people you do it see it in high school a lot, like, oh, I'm going to put my kids in public schools in high school, or college prep school that doesn't necessarily have your same values, or a college that does the same thing, and it's just like, okay, you just spent all this time, effort, and sacrifice just to turn it over really to the wolves at the last minute. It's kind of baffling.
It really it baffles me because, as much as I think that, okay, we've given them the tools of learning, but they are going right into this lion's den, and they are going into a place where they're going to be told by someone with a big title, everything that you've thought of up until this point is wrong, and I've got a credential to prove it. And they're surrounded by other students, right, who are telling them the same thing. And it really takes a lot. I don't think maybe too much for most students at 18 to have the moral and intellectual courage to face that down and to winsomely and articulately make truth claims that we know are true, just by working through our understanding of the world. So I think we don't aim for Providence to be an insular place, because we want to get out there and we want to debate and we want to have these discussions. We believe that we ought to be that salt and light in the world, but we're not going to drown them, with moral relativism, with a coddling, with a closing of their minds when they get here. And I think that's a great distinctive of Providence.
That's awesome. You've been in higher education for 20 years now. And just tell our audience some of the good, the bad, the ugly. What are some things you're seeing? We were talking off air before we got started just about how your college is one of maybe a dozen or so in the U.S. that are really pushing back against a lot of this cultural shift that's going on. So
Yeah.
what are you seeing out there?
Well, there's a lot that's ugly, right? There's a lot. There's that rule, right? Of the first rule, do no harm,
Mhm.
right? So there are a lot of places where you could send your son or daughter where no harm would be done. And I think that clarity on what's happening within higher ed has really produced, some great institutions that are very clear-minded that they're not going to have mission drift. That better to have a college worth saving than have no
Mhm.
college. Right. And if it's not worth saving, be done with it. You can replicate what they're doing and be open, but it's not worth it. So I think the good that's being done is being done by some really courageous leaders in higher education. I think they're taking a look at a lot of the falsehoods that went into thinking through
Mhm.
what a great curriculum would look like back in the 1950s and 60s. And there's been kind of a tightening of, okay, what are the best classes for students to take? How do those fit together in an integrated way, whereby there's continued integration where they realize that God's created world, fits together. So I think a lot of good thought on curriculum. And I think, another great thing that we don't realize is that there's an amazing amount of really excellent people who have PhDs who can't get jobs at other colleges and universities because they don't fit the politically correct profile of these
Mhm.
colleges. So there's talent out there if you're willing to go after it. So I think you've got the curriculum in place, there's been fine tuning there, you've got the ability to bring in some great faculty, and you just have to be courageous in how you lead the institution, principle first.
That's awesome. And what do you see really the role of higher education for developing these minds, especially going forward, and seeing that this culture that we see around us right now isn't really the culture even 5, 10 years ago.
Right. I think it has to do with that transition period, say 18 to 24, where, okay, say that we've recovered the lost tools of learning and the language of Dorothy Sayers and others. Um, After that, what? And after that, we have to be able to really kind of work hard as young adults and transition into adulthood so we can take those lost tools of learning now that they're recovered and learn how to apply them as adults in a
Mhm.
courageous. That's what our country is longing for right now. That's what will lead to a greater common good and public good. And we need to be out there, and we need so many more young and women, men and women out there doing just that. So that's what we're
Mhm.
about. And that's what I think why I would send my child to a college like Providence or some of these other colleges that are doing this.
That's great. Yeah, I even see in some of the different colleges that we interact with a lot of unintentional but mission drift, where you think you might be sending your kid to a school that's maybe believes something, but the professors don't even believe it. And for you guys to put that much emphasis on getting the right professors there is really heartening to me, and exciting, and I can just fully endorse families checking you guys out. So what's the best way? If I had a junior or sophomore in high school, or even a senior in high school, like, is there a website they should check out? Should they can they do a site visit? I know you guys are in California. What are you guys doing right now, and how can people find out more about you?
Yeah, we're having site visits right now. We have families who come in. They'll sit in, on a class. Any person interested should go to providencecc.edu, and they should look up this Witherspoon program. Right now, this is the time where a lot of those families who are kind of on the front end of the process, especially for juniors and seniors, it's a great time to kind of look into a program like that. And I just get in touch with us, and we'd love to meet as many families as we can, and we'd love to just continue this great partnership.
Yeah, that honors college is a great opportunity for CC children and CC families. I know that's something that I would be excited about, and the fact that you can graduate in 3 years is incredible. I mean, I took 5.5 years, but I was working off and off and didn't work. It was, I had to work because my mom told me that she was starting this thing called classical conversations, and they couldn't pay for school anymore. So I went to school semester, worked a semester, school semester, and worked a semester. So
Yeah.
so don't worry, folks. It doesn't take 5.5 years for our average CC student to graduate. Just me.
One thing I forgot to mention, Robert, is that in our articulation agreement with Classical Conversations, you have your CC Plus classes,
Sure.
and there are 8 of those that will accept into our program that will So the courses align with our curriculum and would
That's awesome.
So if you're one of those parents and you've been taking advantage of CC Plus and you have 8 courses on the roster, that's a year of courses that already would transfer in, which is another great benefit, for moving into Providence. So.
That is awesome. Well, everyone check out providencecc.edu to find out more information. Uh, they're on the forefront of molding championship minds, really, for our Christian children, and making sure that they're well taken care of, and building positively on the work, on the sacrifice that you have made for your family for these last 12 years, and not trying to tear it down, but build it up and help these kids get prepared for the next season of life. And so thank you so much, Dr. Corbin, for coming on with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert. Pleasure. Yeah,
All right.
anytime.
God bless. Have a great day.